Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And today, we're taking a little bit of a break from the usual. Today, I'm crawling up onto my soapbox. There are a few things, objections that often crop up in response to things like, ranking albums, making your list of your favorite songs by a certain artist, whatever. As soon as you start getting into expressing an evaluative opinion about a musical work or about any art form, as far as that goes, certain objections start cropping up, certain arguments start cropping up. And I want to take a little bit of time and I'm hoping that I will dispose of these, at least as far as we're concerned here at Papa Nick's Music. The first criticism that often crops up is that album ranking is pointless. It's a pointless activity. It's all subjective. Well, it's just what your opinion. So, and technically, yes, this is true. This is why every time I do one of these videos, I've got the subjective notice down here, the subjectivity notice, excuse me. It's all a matter of opinion. Yes, 100%. I completely agree with that. The thing that I find objectionable here, the thing that causes my dander to go up a little bit, is the assumption that because it is strictly a matter of opinion, that it is therefore pointless, it is therefore meaningless, it is therefore, not worth doing. And I think that that's a specious argument. I think this, or put it this way, if you're looking at it as if an endeavor, an intellectual exercise must have some sort of tangible, objective benefit in order to be worthwhile, if that's the viewpoint that you've got, then we don't have any room for art in the first place, because frankly, it's all pointless if we're thinking in terms of objective, measurable impact. Whether I like something, whether I don't like something, has absolutely no impact on the world. Whether I listen to music in the first place has absolutely no impact on the world. All of the impact of all of this stuff is subjective. So if you're telling me that you think that ranking albums is a pointless endeavor, what you're really telling me, or I should say, what I'm hearing is this thing that you enjoy doing, I think is worthless. But the fact that you think that it's worthless is equally worthless for exactly the same reason, right? A discussion about art among people who enjoy the art form is valuable in and of itself. It does not have to have an objectively verifiable outcome in order for it to have meaning. I talk about music that I like in hopes first of, building a sense of community with other people who like the same kind of music. Secondly, to increase awareness of music forms that I like that other people may not be aware of. And these are entirely legitimate reasons for having the conversation in the first place. I don't need to, I'm not laboring under the false impression that in order for what I'm doing to have meaning, I must have an end result that everybody who sees the discussion will, by necessity, have to agree with, right? No. This is not a matter of right and wrong. It's a matter of taste. It's always been a matter of taste. That, to point out that it's a matter of taste is not a criticism. That's just what it is. If you point out that it's a matter of taste as a form of criticism, all you're doing is saying that you don't value the taste that's involved. So, no, we're not playing that game here. BS objection number 2 is that by looking at something critically, by trying to evaluate the impact that it has, by trying to enumerate the impact that it has, you are somehow lessening the art form itself. In one of his poems, The Tables Turned, William Wordsworth has the infamous line, "We murder to dissect." which every non-English major who was ever forced to take a British literature survey where they read that poem, man, they latch onto that line, "We murder to dissect." See, even Wordsworth says that if all we do is examine the qualities of this poem, if we measure the meter of the poem and we label the rhyme scheme, we're taking away the beauty of it. No, we're not. Here at Pop and X Music, we are not murdering to dissect. What we are doing is we are identifying the qualities that we think good music has, right? We're trying to further a conversation about what good music is. How do I identify good music? How do I know if I'm listening to something? How do I know why I like it, right? It's not... I'm not trying to convince you to like something if you don't like it. I'm just trying to explain why I like it in such a way that you might be able to see it from my perspective. This is not murdering to dissect. You can note and respect the craft decisions that go into creating an artwork without taking all of the joy out of the artwork. I try my best not to take make the automatic assumption that if you are saying if you're parroting this "we murder to dissect" thing at me, what you're really telling me is that you don't have any faith in your ability to explain why you like what you like, and you prefer to see it as this magical, mystical, well, it speaks to me, and you can't take it any further than that. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. It's just that that's not a conversation starter. That's a conversation killer. And we're about starting conversations here, not killing them. Objection number 3. I very often see in other people's videos some reference to the idea that I like this thing. I think this thing is really, really good. I think it is so good, in fact, that I can't imagine somebody who doesn't like it. I think it's so good that if you tell me you don't like it, my assumption is that you don't like music, right? If you don't like this thing, then you don't like music. If you don't like this thing, then you are not a true fan of whatever. I've got a Beach Boys album ranking video. First one that I did in this series of discussion videos. And I had a comment in response to that. If you don't like Beach Boys Love You, then you're not a true fan, which is bullshit. You can be a true fan of something and not like individual bits of the canon. I don't like Beach Boys Love You. I think it's a sophomoric album. I think the songwriting is... basic to the point of being almost written by rote. I mean, there are very few musical surprises in that album. I cannot think of a single point as I'm listening to the Beach Boys Love You where a decision is made in terms of the structure of the song that I think, ooh, that's different or that's unusual. And the execution of it, I don't think, is particularly good either. I'm not saying that if you like Beach Boys Love You that you're a moron or anything like that. It's just I don't see anything to it. I don't. I'm one of those who thinks that it's a bad album. This doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's a matter of taste, right? But you can't then turn around and say, well, if you don't like this, then you're not a true fan, because that's obvious nonsense. I am a fan of the Beach Boys, right? I have been dipped by my heels into the river Styx of Beach Boys lore. I have a buttload of books back there about the Beach Boys. I have a copy of every one of their albums with the exception of Summer in Paradise. I listen to this music regularly. It is the soundtrack of my life. Of course I'm a fan of the Beach Boys. You don't have to agree with all of my things in order to be a lover of music. You don't have to agree with my tastes in order to have legitimate taste of your own, right? Taste is an individual thing. Um, I hope I am never giving the impression that if you like something that I don't, or that if you don't like something that I do, then there is something wrong with you. No, no. That's a point where our tastes diverge. That's all there is to it. And then finally, this is a problem I have more with popular culture in general as opposed to just music. It does crop up from time to time in music, but it applies more to other areas, things like TV and film, things like that. And that's the idea that if I tinker with an original work, that I have somehow ruined the original work, right? When I was doing my Monkees album ranking video, I had a reference at one point to when I first heard that Good Times was coming out. Yeah, my first thought was, do you think that's wise? I mean, we look at what you did with Pool-It, and that was not a successful endeavor. We look at what you did with Justice, and while I liked Justice, not very many people did. So, and this comes uncomfortably close to this very thing that I'm criticizing. The idea that somehow they are sullying their reputation if they make these albums. Now, in the case of the Monkees, it had a happy ending because Good Times turned out to be one of the best albums that the Monkees ever recorded. Thank you, Adam Schlesinger. But we see the same kind of thing happen a lot. Do you really think you should try to revisit that? Meatloaf, did you really need to do a Bat Out of Hell 2, much less a Bat Out of Hell 3? Do you really need, Kiss, did you really need to do Psycho Circus? Right? Yeah. That if you've got an artist who in some way revisits older material, that is, or in the case of Psycho Circus, is going back to an older lineup, if that is somehow, tampering with the original, this crops up a lot in movies. I'm a big fan, as you can tell by the action figures and yes, I'll say it, dolls on top of my bookshelf up there. I am a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When I was a kid, I grew up on Marvel Comics. I've got a bunch of Spider-Man up there because Spider-Man is, he is my hero. I've always loved Spider-Man, always been a big fan of Spider-Man. And so every time a new Spider-Man product comes out, you better believe I'm watching it. And this goes all the way back to the ill-fated mid to late 70s live-action TV show starring Nicholas Hammond. Yes, I watched every episode of that. You better believe I did, buddy. I watched all of the Tobey Maguire movies, Spider-Man movies, even though I'm not a big fan of Tobey Maguire. I watched all the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies because I actually like those, and I do like Andrew Garfield. I've very much enjoyed Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the current MCU. So, yeah, I've watched all of these things. Now, in the Tobey Maguire movies, when it turns out that Tobey Maguire doesn't use web shooters, his webs are created organically from his body. Ooh, that's not ruining the original. That's putting a new spin on it. I'm not upset. I was not upset in Iron Man 3 when the Mandarin turned out not to be the real Mandarin. That didn't bother me. That has absolutely no effect on the original source material. None at all. Those comics still exist 100% in the form that they existed in when I was young. So this idea that a new work can in any way have an impact on previous work is just no. That's a shallow view of the work in the first place. If the thing has meaning, if the album, if the artist, if the song, if the movie, if the comic book, if the novel, whatever, if that thing has meaning for you, then that meaning should not be affected by later iterations of that concept, by later embellishments on that concept. The original thing that you know is still the thing that you know, right? No, we do not ruin things just by, taking them a step too far or going in a different direction. All we're doing there is going in a direction that has now left me behind, and that's fine, right? You get to a point where you realize, okay, from this point forward, I'm just not gonna. We agree to disagree, and you're gonna go off and do the thing you want to do, and I'm just going to enjoy the stuff that you've already done. In my videos, the example here is the Kiss ranking video that I did. I focused on the makeup years. I didn't go beyond the makeup years, and I didn't go beyond the makeup years because, aside from Lick It Up, I didn't like any of the music that they did. Once they took off their makeup, they shifted their style of music, and that style of music does not appeal to me. So yeah, I was no longer. I was no longer a current fan of Kiss from that point forward. But I still love the stuff they did before, and the stuff they did before is still important to me. So, yeah, this idea that if we revisit an original concept, we are somehow sullying or belittling that concept, no, that's nonsense. The original concept is still the original concept. So, these are just things, like I said, I had to get these things off my chest. I've been stewing over a couple of these here recently in response to conversations I've had with people in real life, and in response to comments that I've seen on other people's videos. Not so much comments I've seen here, because the few people I have who comment here, for the most part, with the exception of the person who told me I'm not a fan if I don't like the Beach Boys, love you. The people who comment here are all aces. I mean, y'all have been doing a wonderful job. But do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I got something wrong? Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you think I did. If you disagree on one of these, we can have a conversation about that. I love these conversations. If you enjoyed the video, please consider clicking like. Consider clicking that subscribe button. And if you subscribe, go ahead and click the notification icon as well. Just click all the stuff down there. Leave a comment. Tell me how you think I did. I would appreciate it. I always love hearing from you. And again, thank you for sticking it out this far. And I hope that the rest of your day is glorious. See you soon.